Welcome to the Systematic Magic Podcast with Vance Morris. How to outserve, outmarket, and outprice your competition in any economy. Based on Vance's 10-year career with the Walt Disney Company. Every episode is jam-packed with strategies, tactics, and examples to propel your business to the next level. The episodes are quick and to the point. You are meant to take action. As Vance says, you won't profit unless you implement. Now, on to our episode.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tom Matson here along with Chris Mason. Welcome to the second half of the Survive and Thrive or Crash and Burn Direct Marketing Success Summit. We're so excited that you're joining us. Whether you're live on Zoom or live on Zoom, since we're not broadcasting on Facebook right now. But you guys are in for a treat. Those of you that are inside the room are in for a treat. Our next speaker has spent 10 years working for the mouse at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. He started his career at Disney on the opening team of the Yacht and Beach Club Resorts. Progressed through the management ranks as nightclub manager at Pleasure Island. Oh my God, there's got to be stories there. Service trainer aboard Empress Lily and on the revitalization team of the Contemporary Resort in the mid-90s. It was at Contemporary that he got his crowning achievement, designing, opening, and operating Chef Mickey's, Disney's flagship character dining experience. After leaving Disney, yes, people do leave, he says. He utilized his skills to rescue or improve many of America's companies and government agencies. His clients included Legal Seafoods. Oh, I love those guys. Tyson, NASA, Rainforest Cafe, Compass Group, the Executive Office of the President of the United States, Smithsonian, a nice little startup, and the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. Tiring of the corporate life, he opened his own bricks and mortar business in 2007. After meteoric growth of his service business, other entrepreneurs began to seek him out for advice and counsel. This spawned his next business, Deliver Service Now Institute, DSNI, consulting and coaching other companies on how to create and implement Disney-style service, then apply direct response marketing to profit from it. He shared the stage with many of the premier marketers and service professionals in the world, including Dan Kennedy, Joe Polish, Bob Brown, Lou Ferrigno, Dean Jackson, Charles Henning, Lee Cockrell, and Meg Crofton. And he's the longest reigning marketer of the year, GKIC Dan Kennedy Award, 5 years. Oh, my word. That's fantastic. So excited. Today, he's going to talk about what would Walt, as in Walt Disney, do. So excited to have you here, Vance. Vance Morris, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And the crowd goes wild.
The cyber crowd. Hands are waving. Hands are waving. Actually, you used to have on rooms now, you can raise hands. Have you seen that feature on Zoom Room?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they haven't migrated to webinar yet, so you'll just have to assume they're applauding.
Fantastic.
So glad that you're here, Vance. Thanks for making time for us today.
I'm looking forward to it. I think, Walt grew up in some tough times. He really epitomized what I call the difference between having resources and being resourceful. A lot of times Walt was pretty gosh darn near broke, if not already bankrupt. One of the great stories that happened out of the opening of Disneyland was that he had run out of money during the construction and didn't have any cash for the landscaping out front. So he instructed his sign crew just to go out, put up signs with the Latin names of the weeds that were out there and made it look like it was actually supposed to be there. So there's a difference between resources and being resourceful.
Oh my word. What a great example of that for entrepreneurs, because you hear this all the time. What if I don't have money? What if I don't have money? How can I do this if I don't have money? And my mentor, Jay Abraham, would always say, well, how would you solve it without money? And I'm sort of like, took the wind out of your sails complaining really quickly, because it was like, oh, that's a good question. How would you solve it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even going back to I lost my train of thought. The handbag guy, Kenneth Cole.
Oh, okay.
When he was getting started, the story is legendary that, when he was getting started, he couldn't afford to get into the big shows in New York. So he went about trying to get a trailer to park out on, Fifth Avenue in front of these shoe shows. And, he sent an employee over to the mayor's office and said, hey, Mr. Mayor, how does one park a tractor trailer on Fifth Avenue? And the mayor's office obviously said, one doesn't. And, had it been an employee, it probably would have ended there. But Kenneth Cole, being resourceful, he was lacking in resources, but was resourceful, decided to change he asked, okay, well, how does one park on the street? And they said that we only give permits to people that are shooting full-length feature films and utility companies. So ding, 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 ding. Kenneth went out and changed the name of his company from Kenneth Cole Inc. to Kenneth Cole Productions Inc. and applied to do a movie called The Birth of a Shoe.
Oh!
And, so they had cameras, red carpet. They had New York's finest, the cops there doing security at the line. And he sold, 10, 20, 30,000 pairs of shoes by being resourceful and not being stuck on, I don't have resources.
Love it. Love it. So if you were to, people right now feeling pressure and stress and all the stuff that's going on, how do you foster resourcefulness when you just want to get through the day sometimes, right? I mean, we've got a whole range of people that are in various levels of go for it on the summit today, obviously. But what would your advice be, Vance? Where would you start?
I think, again, what would Walt do right now? And I think one of the things he'd be doing, and Disney is doing a very good job of it, is communicating with their guests, either their prior guests or their future guests, people that have had vacation plans ruined. And I think Walt would really be heartfelt, going on TV like he did with, his television shows back in the day, and really getting in front of everybody saying, it's going to be okay. We're not going anywhere. We're going to reopen. Disney just laid off 100,000 employees, and, needing to be reassured that, a lot of those people are going to be coming back. It's going to be a slow process, but I think, for your employees, for your customers or clients, getting out there and being in communication with them and not trying to force the sale. I think that's what too many people right now are trying to force a sale, and they become needy. And when you become needy, that really permeates any communication you're doing, and nobody likes being around a needy person.
Plus, they can smell it, right? Part of this is, what do you want to be remembered for? And do you want to be remembered for being needy?
Yeah, exactly. And, the thing that, I also own, as you mentioned in my intro, a service business. I am the illustrious owner of a Oriental rug and carpet cleaning business here in Maryland. Oh. And so, everything that I teach my clients, I actually use in my carpet business. And my tagline is if a carpet cleaner can do it, anybody can do it. Disnify your business. You think about the levels of home services. You've got pest control, you've got electricians and plumbers. Carpet cleaners are down in the basement. We're not exactly thought of. 2020 did an expose on us, for crying out loud. So if a carpet cleaner can do it, anybody can do it.
I assume you meant an expose on the industry, not on you guys, right?
Yeah, definitely was not on me personally.
Just want to be clear, your Oriental rug is safe with Vance.
So at any rate,
Chris, jump in.
We're going with this?
Yeah. I've got a question here because I've got 2 little kids. I've taken them to Disney, and the experience. I didn't know how much I would like Disney until I went. I expected actually to not enjoy it at all. And then I went the first time and it was amazing. And so I'm looking at your background, Disnify your business. And I'm curious, I think I know what that means, create a cool experience maybe, but I'd love to hear you talk about, how does one begin to Disnify their business? What does that mean? Where do you start? Is it, and maybe I'll just leave it open into there. How do you start Disnify your business? What does that mean? And kind of what process you take clients through?
In a nutshell, for me, Disnify means creating an experience out of the mundane. So there are mundane things that we have to do every day in our businesses in order for the business to run and continue. We have to answer the phone. To an employee, that's a mundane thing. But to the person on the other end of the phone who's making the call, this is the first time that they're calling this business. So they need to be expecting an experience. So how do you make an experience out of answering the telephone? I presented to a group of insurance agents, and I asked this question when I'm doing presentations in front of a live audience. Not that this audience isn't alive, but you know what I mean. And I'll ask the audience, okay, how do you answer the phone? And I usually get some form of, thank you for calling Dave's Allstate. How may I help you? And one guy, one of my clients, was a rock and roll fanatic. He had Jimi Hendrix and The Who all over his office. The whole guitars, gold records, everything decorating the walls. And he had his team answering the phone. Thank you for calling Dave's Allstate, the agency that rocks. Now, that is making an experience out of the mundane. It didn't cost him anything to do that. So, when you're Disnifying, some of these things that we do, there are no costs associated with them. You can start this stuff, at any time. I give you an example of, and people are going to remember that, with marketing, either to attract the people you want to do business with or repel the people you don't want. And I think answering the phone that way is going to do exactly that, maybe to an extreme. Creating an experience out of the mundane. Again, think about Southwest Airlines. A lot of people like to call them Southwest, but Southwest Airlines has taken flying, which is a very mundane thing now, to an experience level. Think about a flight that I was on a number of years ago. And you know how the flight attendants, by FAA law, they have to say, please be careful opening up the overhead bins. As you know, items have a tendency to shift in flight. Well, on this Comedy Central flight that we were on, they said, please be careful opening up the overhead bins. As you know, items have a tendency to shift in flight. As you know, shift happens. Ba-dum-bump. But when was the last time you got off of a plane and you were smiling?
Yeah.
When was the last time you actually remember, if you're a frequent flyer, when was the last time you actually remembered a flight? Those things all start to blur and blend together.
Well, and yet, here's the cool thing, right? Every one of us frequent travelers has one of those stories, and it's either Southwest or Southwest former employee. Right? We all have, like, a frequent ones, oh, yeah, it happened, and one, like me, it happened once. Once, and it's like, that's statistically a small percentage, but I remember they broke out into this Andy Rooney routine, right? And it was this like ongoing series of, you ever wonder why? And they just like, we're just howling. And why do people park on driveways and drive on parkways? Do you ever wonder why? And on and on. And people were just laughing. And so I love the experience out of the mundane, because we all have mundane parts of our business where our clients or customers are interacting, right?
Exactly. And each point that you have interaction with a client, that would be that creating an experience out of that point. I see a question here in the chat box, how can a freelance copywriter Disnify their business? Again, their first interaction with you could be your website. All right. Well, what is your website? Is it an experience, or is it, a pain in the ass? Are you throwing up? Well, you go to you try navigating the SBA website these days.
My word. Yeah.
Or the IRS. It's a disaster. So, what's the experience with the initial point of contact? Your sales letter that you're sending out, is it a shock and awe kind of sales letter? Like, holy crap, I got a box of stuff dropped on me. Or did you just shove a letter in an envelope, or worse yet, just send an email?
Even collections, like that just triggered my mind on collections, because I've been an entrepreneur 37 years. You go through ups and downs collecting money, you go through ups and downs paying money, or you're not an entrepreneur. And how people reach out to collect payments blows my mind. You got to think they're like, this is a criminal conviction process. It's not a client retention process in any way, shape, or form, except the ones who do. And then it's like, oh my God, Future Soft is a good example. They've been loyal to me over the years. I've been loyal to them over the years. they're awesome if you get behind. They want you to not drop their service. And I think partly because you can drop their service. It's significant enough.
Exactly.
You can drop it. And so maybe they've learned it. Maybe it's a leader. I'm not sure. But there's an example where today, more than ever, right? Landlords, suppliers, creditors, vendors, we all could make that experience better for the people on the other end, couldn't we?
Certainly. And actually, you bring that up. The company that I work with for my carpet cleaning business to do collections, they have really got a different approach to it and are almost trying to engage in a partnership with the person who owes me money. And that's one of the reasons I chose them. It's because they're not some guy walking around with a 2x4 ready to break some kneecaps. They're really trying to reframe how collections are done, and they've been very successful. So
I'm assuming you think this should start like from before they're even clients, right? Prospects,
oh, sure,
all the way through the process. And so what's some of the things you've noticed on the prospecting side that's sort of like best practices or things to really avoid?
From the Disney side?
Yeah. Disney side or with your clients since then, either way.
Yeah, no, from the prospecting side, I've got a little leg up because, for the carpet cleaning business, I can say I am the only Disney trained service company in Maryland. And that's probably a fairly safe statement to make. And you really need to be able to, you're not stretching the truth, but if you've been to any Disney training, if you've even been to my training, you can now use in your headlines, Disney trained plumber, Disney trained copywriter, whatever it is. There is a modicum of truth to that. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's something that's going to separate you from everybody else, every other plumber in your town. I think with the prospecting too is when you give the importance to the level of experience, the level of service that you're going to provide. My guys, when they go out to a home, and I have a video on this, and I also have it in writing on my website about how one of my guys is going to enter the home, because that's one of the mundane things we have to do is enter the home to do the cleaning. So we made a complete production out of this thing. So my guy comes out of the van. He's in a clean, crisp, new uniform because he carries an extra one in the van in case he got dirty on the first job. He comes up, he parks in the street. He doesn't park in the driveway because, God forbid, we've got a leak in the oil. He has a special mat under his arms. He's got his bag, and he's got a gift, and he goes up to the door. He knocks on the door and waits and takes a step back, waits for Mrs. McGillicuddy to answer. After Mrs. McGillicuddy answers the door, he says, "Hi, my name's Stephen. I'm with ChemDry. I'm here to take care of you. May I come in?" He doesn't just barge in, but may I come in? When he is invited in, he makes an exaggeration of wiping his feet on the carpet and comes in and presents the guest or the client with a gift. Now, when was the last time a plumber, a carpet cleaner, any home service business presented a gift to you when they got in, before the sale, before anything happened? Sure.
How about never, never, and never is my three answers.
Now, this little gift is nothing expensive. It cost me about $4 to put this together. It's a nice little box with a bottle of spot remover, a bag of cookies, and a note from me saying, "Thank you very much for allowing us into your home. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me." So that gift does two things. One, it separates me from everybody else. As you said, nobody else is doing it. And the thing is my competitors know I do it, and they're too flippin' lazy to implement it on their own. Or they're not charging it enough and they can't afford to do it. The other thing that gift does is it starts a process called reciprocity. Sure. And when it's time for my technician to start talking about the different packages, people feel compelled to give something back. We gave them something, they want to give back. So when we implemented this gift, we did nothing else, we changed nothing else. We had a 26% increase in our mid-tier package, which more than covers the cost of this stinky little box.
Well, and that's something that right now, so many people are choosing to market on price already. It's going to get worse. You know it. I know it. Chris knows it. They're going to be stampeding price deals out the yin yang. So they cut their margins. They cut their ability to provide value. They cut all of those things, and they teach their customers to be cheap. Right? What you're saying is you can add value without spending a lot of money, but it can have great impact on your experience. I love that example.
Well, and people are so afraid about raising their prices. I mean, Disney raises their prices at least once, if not twice a year.
Oh no! While you're at the park, they raise their prices. What are you talking about?
yeah, right. You come in the morning, it's one price, and you leave.
It's like, I thought I just paid $6 for a Coke, and now it's $6.50. What's going on?
Yeah.
But you don't mind.
Can't be bashful. You can't be bashful about raising your prices. Sure, you need to provide the experience, but in one of my lessons that I do with my clients is I show them how you can increase your price 300%. Lose 2/3 of your clients and still be just as profitable, if not more profitable. You got the same revenue coming in, you have less overhead, less headaches, and you're doing it for less people. So you
say that again, because I think people miss that, Vance. Raise your price by how much?
300%.
Okay. And have a lot less customers.
2/3 of your customers.
Yep.
And you'll still be more profitable.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you raise your price 20% and you lost 5% of your customers, you're ahead.
I remember having a chat with a hairstylist who worked out of home, and she used to charge $150, $225 for cuts and colors for women in the studio. And she went to home and she was charging these really, really low prices. And well, what are you doing? You're working all these hours. Double your prices. Oh, no. 3 months we argued every time I got my haircut. Then she did. She literally, well, you'll know that. She didn't lose a single person.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we're waiting for you. We knew he was going to come. We knew we couldn't keep paying this low price for this. They all knew. They laughed. They were proud of her. Like, a lot of times we get all hung up on we can't charge this, but our customers are customers too, right? They're people. Love it.
And it's also, I mean, you look at, I can't remember which marketer said this, but look around at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. So, I mean, the race to the bottom on pricing is not a winnable race for most small businesses. The only one I know of that can do it is Walmart. Right. And none of us are Walmart on this call, I would assume.
Yeah.
And being in the middle is probably the worst place to be because you're just getting squeezed. It's not a separator. So why don't you just charge as much as you possibly can and provide an incredible experience? I mean, Disney does the same thing. They raise prices in hopes that less people will come. And if less people come, then it's a better experience for the people who are there. But it hasn't worked. They've been doing it for years, and they still got
the crowds
people crowd in the place. So
we are already out of time. I can't believe this, Vance. We probably could go for about 46 hours, so Chris. What do you think, with Vance? We're going to do an all Vance summit coming up next month. It'll be 14 hours of Vance.
Oh my!
Final thoughts for people listening in. Final bits of actionable advice you'd give entrepreneurs, especially marketers, in today's environment. Vance, what would you suggest?
Well, I notice there's a lot of procrastination, and my tagline is you won't profit unless you implement. So if you're going to be on this call all day long, getting all this great information from all these marketers, take one or two things and do it. Because if you just listen to all this, it's just been a waste of a day. So pick something, implement it, you'll profit.
Love it. What a great way to wrap. Thank you, Vance. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks for sharing your passion and your wisdom, and looking forward to chatting again.
Great. Thanks, son.
And everyone, we are up next. How to market your brand during the COVID-19 crisis. An absolute marketing brand guru. You're going to love it. See you in the next room. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Systematic Magic Podcast. If you like what you heard, go to our website, deliverservicenow.com, so you do not miss a single strategy. Join Vance's crusade to eliminate poor client or patient experiences around the world. Go to deliverservicenow.com right now.